Hello everybody, my name is Alesh Eisner and welcome to the Canadian Money Talk, the channel about Canadian investing and personal finance. Please like and subscribe. If you've ever had to exchange US dollars to Canadian or Canadian to US dollars, you may have noticed that the rate is never as good as what you thought it would be. Banks are bad, credit cards are worse, and typically charge an extra percentage point or two. But the main difference is that the institutions use a different rate depending on whether you're buying or selling a given currency, as you can see here. This is the spread or margin. If you are ever converting a significant amount of money, this video will be of interest, since you can actually get the true rate of the day. As you can see from the August 13, 2020 screenshot from Coast, you would get a 1.286 Canadian for every US dollar from Coast. I phoned them, and because of the large amount of money I was going to exchange, I sold one of my US investment properties and was exchanging a $207,000 USD. They said I would get 1.319. But using a technique called Norbert's Gambit, named after Norbert Schlenker of Libra Investment Management of Salt Spring Island, BC, I could get a 1.3365 rate the same day. The technique is somewhat simple, but can take several days. I didn't get my money converted until 5 days later, on August 18th, and in my bank account on August 20th, 7 days later, while if I used the bank's conversion, it would have taken 5 minutes. With the US dollar losing value, I ended up getting a 1.329, which is still 0.01 more than what Coast offered, and that made a difference of over $2,000 because I was exchanging 207,000 USD. To be fair, if the US dollar was gaining strength, I would have made more money. So how to implement Norbert's Gambit? You need a stock or an exchange-traded fund that trades both on a US exchange and on a Canadian exchange. I use DLR.U and DLR, which actually represent the US and Canadian dollars respectively, but you could use a stock like Enbridge, which trades both on a TSX and in New York. Depending on which currency you are starting with, you buy the corresponding asset, move it to the other dollar-denominated account, where it gets converted, and you sell it in the other currency, and voila! An accurate currency exchange without a margin for the bank. There are a couple of caveats before I show you my transaction. First, there's the time delay I mentioned. For me, it took 7 days with Qtrade, and that was after 3 phone calls where I finally forced the manager to remove a 10 business day hold. The 10 days starts when I transfer my money in, just in case I don't have the money in my checking account to begin with. Even screenshots of my bank account didn't initially convince them. The bank would have been instant. Other trading accounts take less time, I'm told 2 days, especially if your brokerage is a major bank with whom you have your checking account as well. Whether you are using an ETF that actually represents the dollar, like DLR or Enbridge, there will be variability while you are holding these assets. DLR went from 1.3365 to 1.329, a difference of 0.0075, while things were being moved around in my account, which cost me over $1,500, but it could have gone the other way too. If you use something like Enbridge stock, that will be moving up and down on its own as well, which could benefit you or cost you. Lastly, you only want to do this with a significant amount of money, at least $1,000, since Norbert saves you about 2%, and your brokerage will charge trading commissions twice, once to buy then to sell, which could add up to $20, and so that's the equivalent of the 2%. It was definitely worth it for my $207,000. So how does it work? I will give an example for converting US dollars to Canadian. I transfer 207,000 USD into my US dollar trading account, and I buy DLR.U, the US dollar version. You can see I bought it for $10.10 a share. Once the purchase has settled, which takes about 2 business days, I use a transfer function, which every brokerage has, but it'll be different in each one, to transfer the asset to the Canadian account. So now I have a US dollar asset, DLR.U, which I purchased, in a Canadian account. The transfer also took a day. Now comes the tricky part. Out of the Canadian account, we sell the Canadian version, DLR, which is now showing a price of 13.30. It actually sold for 13.29. So it is denominated in Canadian dollars. In some brokerages, you need to change DLR.U to DLR on the selling screen. Other brokerages seem to know to use Canadian DLR version in a Canadian account. Once you sell it and the trade again settles, you can transfer the Canadian dollars into your Canadian checking account. And you're done. So to summarize, to move US dollars to Canadian, you buy DLR.U in a US dollar account. You move the DLR.U to your Canadian dollar account, and then you sell DLR in Canadian dollars, making sure that you are selling DLR and that it is in Canadian dollars. To move Canadian dollars to USD, you buy DLR in a Canadian dollar account. You move DLR to your US dollar account, and then you make sure that you sell DLR.U. And then you should have US dollars. Norbert's Gambit is definitely worth it for larger amounts and if you're not in a hurry. There are money exchangers which give you a better deal than the banks, but never the current rate like Norbert. Banks themselves will give you a better rate for larger amounts, but still keep a little something for themselves. So, if you have any requests on what you would like me to cover in future videos, please put that in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and may you have a profitable day.